南无本师释迦牟尼佛。南无本师释迦牟尼佛。南无本师释迦牟尼佛。We pay homage to our respected teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha. Good. So, it's been a month since I last saw you, well, some of you. A lot has happened in this last month, or not a lot has happened in this last month. It depends on where you are. So it's a good thing that we are slightly going back to the normal. Slightly. It's still taking some time to return back. So for tonight chit chat, so I don't have actually many questions. I only have one question which was sent to me way back from Laurie. So Laurie has asked such a question. She said, we as parents, educators and caregivers spend a huge amount of time focusing on building a strong sense of self and confidence in a strong personal identity in children. Then, if those children are fortunate enough to encounter the teachings and to walk on the path, they try for the rest of their lives to undo all those formative years. Which is very true. But I guess there's really nothing you can do to that, because that's the way society is right now. And that's the way, actually, education, as you mentioned before, Laurie, I remember you said something about teaching children etiquettes like politeness while at school, but you don't teach it now, right? No. And they don't do it as at home either. Of course, some parents still do it, but I don't think many of them actually do it. So it's the evolution of community, it's the evolution of education that, we really have very little power over, little control over. You're correct in a sense of building a strong sense of self and confidence. I think confidence is very necessary. Strong sense of self. I would say that self-identity is very important in the West. In the West, is actually, I think, it's more pronounced. It's a very different culture, I could say. It's a very different culture. And I don't know why that strong sense of self-identity is being so pronounced in the West. I really don't know. Maybe, I really don't know. Do you have any clue? Is it because you are all immigrants? You're all, well, we are, I mean, I am immigrant, but you are all actually, back in the old days, you are all immigrants. You really were not born here. I mean, you were born here, but but you were really, you really were not belong here. So I think in the old days, your parents or your ancestors, they really need to build up that self-identity, because why? They were in a place where it wasn't their origin, it wasn't their roots. So they have to identify with this place, right? And when one's trying to identify with something, and when there's a tendency of, building up a very strong sense of me and I and mine here. And especially, I think, in the West, in Canada or in North America, where most of us, including me and you, are actually really immigrants, which our ancestors were not native to this place. So when we need to be successful here, we need to sort of, that's a human nature. It's really nothing wrong with your ancestors. But this human nature is, I need to be strong. I need to be stronger than everybody else. And I need to be like, I need to be so strong. That's why the I in English is capital I, always capital. And I think there's a reason behind that, is to develop the identity so that you don't present as a weak tribe or weak person, and you can actually overcome those who are natives in this place. I don't know whether I'm right, but this is how I see it. Maybe, huh? Yeah. I mean, have you ever thought of that?
No,
in that aspect? No? What about anybody? Anybody? I mean, it's a chit chat tonight. So, I mean, Laurie raised up these questions, and she probably wants to hear everybody's views, and of course, including my views. And this is how I actually see it. When I was reading your question, I didn't have this coming up, but it's just that I read that question before. But when I was reading it just now, actually this came up, this whole thing of us being immigrants have to be so strong and so powerful to make sure that, those native people who they will not fight us back, and we will not be like taken down by them.
I think I've always thought of it as more of an arrogance and a superiority.
Yeah. But you need, arrogance and superiority. Yeah, Laurie said it's almost a sense of arrogance and superiority. Why do you need to be arrogant, and why do you need to have that sense of superiority? Because of this ego, and of the risk of being overcome. So you need to be like feeling strong, and I am more superior than you. Don't you ever try to fight me back. You can't. You won't, and you don't. Right? So I think it is a very, I don't think it's actually particular to this nation or to this place, to this area. I think this is actually a general thing of humanity, human being. It's general, it's quite generalized. And it happens in the East too, but the East is very different. We'll come to that later on. The East is a totally very different culture, and the East is actually supported by very, very long history. So that is a very big difference there. Okay, so I mean, having confidence is nothing wrong with having confidence, but if the strong sense of self identity leads to arrogance and superiority, then there will be problem in the society, right? Because then you will always treat people like as if you're more superior to them, and then there will be a lot of bullying or belittling and all that happening, and comparison also, definitely comparison. So when comparison happens in a society, whether or in a family, or even in a community, or even in a congregation, when people start to compare with others, then that's a big problem, because we can never be compared with anybody else, because all of us are different. All of us are very unique. None of us, even twins or triplets, have the same karma. There's no way, because when you come to talk about lives, you definitely have to start look at it from the karmic point of view. And no matter how close we are, like twins or triplets or quadruplets, even though they are born, if they are identical twins, even though they are very tightly, stay in the mother's womb for 10 months, but yet they still have their own karma. It's very different. So all of us are very unique. So there is no way that one should be, we should not be compared, but I think in human started way back in human history, comparison makes one stronger, they think, right? Because you become competitive and you want to say, oh wow, oh, she's so much better than me, I need to do better, because and that, okay, if you do better, it's okay. You strive harder, you work harder, that's okay. But when you start to say, oh, well, no, I have to beat them down, I have to beat her down or beat him down, I have to be like on top, then that's a totally different mentality. And that is not a healthy mentality. Competition is okay, but competition with an intention of beating people down and being the first, then that will not be okay. That is how I see it, because there's no way one can compete with others. We can compete with others, but we should not be compare ourselves with others, because we all are different. And how can you compare an apple to a pear, or a pear to a banana? We can't, and we should not. But we always do. Right? We always do. So, yeah. So, yeah, you said if those children are fortunate enough to encounter the teachings and to walk on the path, they try for the rest of their lives to undo all those formative years. Well, you think these children who will encounter the teachings are fortunate, but they don't think so. Right? They don't think so. They need it. They don't even click that what's going on? Why am I being so? Why I am building such an ego? Why I am building such? Why I am so arrogant? Why I am so overconfident or whatever? They don't even know. People don't even know about this. And when people don't know that there is such thing and needed to be corrected or needed to be improved, or needed to be changed, how would they know that it is necessary to learn something else too, so that this one can be improved, can be corrected? They don't even know. It's your point of view, that thinking that they will be fortunate enough to encounter the teachings of the Buddha. Yes, once they encounter the teachings of the Buddha, yes, they need to untie all these knots, like what we do now. Like keep untying, scrubbing it down, right? Because we have collected so many layers already. So keep rubbing it down. But a lot of people think that it's so nice to carry all those things around. They don't find it as a problem. So that's why a lot of practitioners, I could say, yes, they seem to be practicing, but yet they don't seem to be able to scrub down those stains, because they can't amalgamate the practice together with the way how we live our life. Practice is practice. Meditation is meditation. Living the life is different. So that means they cannot integrate that practice into daily life. Then so practice is only a practice, and living is a living. It's different. So, but the Buddha said no. The life is a practice. The life itself is a practice, and the heart is a temple. He said, right? Inside, we all have a monastery inside, a temple inside. How are we going to decorate that temple, that monastery? Are we going to decorate it with dirt? Are we going to decorate it with candles and beautiful lights and everything. It depends on how we see it and how we can actually use the practice. Okay, so anybody has any insight on this? Yes, sure. Mike, please.
Thank you. Good evening, Sze Fu and everyone. I just wanted to mention, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it talked a lot about this personal identity, strong personal identity. And it was written by a biologist, and she said exactly what you did, which is in the West, we have this theory of competition that came back from Darwin. And she said that's everywhere. It's in our education, it's in our economics. And so we're all trained, and it's in our force. We believe that, you know, the fittest of the strongest are the ones that
fitness survives.
Yeah. And she said, in fact, they're learning now that even in nature, in forests, trees collaborate. They don't compete.
Yes.
And it just completely threw out all of these theories that we've had about competition.
Yes.
And there's that idea now, we're at a crossroads where we're beginning to understand with the planet that if we don't collectively cooperate, that theory of competition has actually caused a lot of destruction. So it just reminded me of that.
Yeah. Well, I didn't listen to the podcast, but this is how I see it. Really, yeah. Very good. Thank you. It's very wise. Yes, and I'm glad that actually there are some scientists out there having these kind of insights and seeing that is the real solution. But the most important thing is more people have to see it. That is the solution, and that is the way, right? Yeah. Just like our flood, just happened 3 weeks ago, and then, lasted for 3 weeks. It's been 3 weeks now, right? This is the 4th week, going into the 4th week. And how did we end up with such a flood, right? And because the valley used to be a lake 100 years ago. So it's called Suma's Lake. It's big lake. And so they decided to turn the lake into farmable land. Right? It's really against the whole nature. It's this, I only knew that because of this flood, that Abbotsford actually was the hub of farming all across North America. It's the most important hub, farming hub. Yeah, you don't know that, right? The most important and the most prosperous farming hub of North America, of Canada. And yeah, looking at the map, you see this whole area, this whole huge lake was made into farmable land. And it's totally, I could say it's totally against the nature, really, totally against the nature. And no matter how many dikes, how many precautions that human beings can take up, so we just could become very powerless when nature strikes. And so, yeah. Well, this is really not in this topic, but anyway. But I agree with you about the competition thing. So, yeah. So I think this strong identity has a lot of competition in it. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Anybody have any insight on this? Okay. All right. Then let's go to the next part of Laurie's question is, as I watch my friends navigate being grandparents, I am seeing this backwards process with fresh eyes. Surely there is a better way. So So, Laurie, could you say something about process with fresh eyes?
Well, it seems to me that the whole process is backwards, and I see that now. When I was teaching, I didn't see it. When I was in university and doing childhood education, I didn't see it. But I started to see it towards the end of my career and seeing how damaging it was to a lot of kids.
Yes.
But now that I'm here and I'm learning the Dhamma, I think, wow, we're doing this all wrong.
Yeah.
We need a better way. So I was just hoping you would comment on that.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Good. So, everybody heard that? You hear it clearly? Good. Yeah, I'm glad you as a teacher actually start to see it. Because why you start to see it with fresh eyes? Because you're not inside. You become an outsider. That's why you're not deluded. You're not. You're not covered. Your eyes are not covered. Your eyes are not blindfolded. That's why you can see it with fresh eyes. But when you're in there, you're so involved in those, and whatever courses that you take, you just absorb. You keep absorbing, because why? Those people who are teaching you are superior. They're your teachers. And we always have to listen to our teachers. Our teachers are always right, correct. So you always absorb all those things from them because they appear to be superior. Otherwise, you won't go and listen to the lectures, right? So now you're not in that world. You're not in that context. And you're outside. You say, oh, wait a minute. This is not the way it's supposed to be. It shouldn't go that way, right? But what can you do? Right? So it's actually very difficult. It's very difficult, I think, because children, when they are put into schools, the schools have a set of, already have a set of curriculum that actually reinforces those qualities. Unless the school, the educators start to see it, it is actually damaging. It is really not the right way to go. Unless they all come together, which is impossible. Which is impossible because you see this with the vaccine. With the vaccine, you see this. You will think that as a medical professional, you will agree to take that vaccine. But you see this, medical professionals disagree to take vaccines. So there is no way that you will get a unanimous agreement on any educational system, any educational directives. There's no way. But does it mean that we can't do anything? No, we still can do something. As a parent, or as a family member, or as a friend, we can do something. But what can we do? I think especially those of you who are actually grandparents now, our age is grandparents' age, right? It's not parents' age anymore, it's grandparents' age. So as grandparents' age, you already have taught your children. Now, whether you have a chance to teach your grandchildren is really according to your karma, right? Because nowadays, children have a very, very different view to let their children to be looked after by grandparents. So don't you ever come with your grandparents' ideas, okay? Right? So it's actually very different than our age. But I think as parents and as grandparents, I think that what we teach children, the first thing is they really need to understand one very important concept, or at least to actually enlighten them, if you have a chance to enlighten them little by little about one concept, which is actually very, very important, and which is going to, I think, a lot of times is going to direct the kids in towards a right direction. Okay, that is the law of cause and effect, the law of causation. Wholesome behavior brings on wholesome consequences. Unwholesome behavior brings out unwholesome consequences. They need to be aware of this. And these needed to be taught when they were little, not when they are grown up. They can't take it in anymore. Especially they won't take it in from the parents anymore. When they were little. Why? Because competition. We are always taught to strive for the consequences, to strive for results. We don't care about causes. We don't care about what are we going to plant. I want that. The consequence, the result. So we are result orientated a lot of time. But in order to have a good result, a wholesome result, or a bright result, you need to plant good seeds, wholesome seeds, bright seeds, right? If you're not planting those seeds, how on earth are you going to get those bright results, good results? There's no way. So this cause and effect actually are very, very, very crucial. And nowadays the kids are born with not just golden spoon or silver spoon, they were born with diamond spoon. Diamond spoon, and they don't care. A lot of them, they don't care. And that if the parents or grandparents start to teach them, hey, what you eat now comes from seeds, come from a lot of people's efforts. And they need to know this. Even though they might not understand it, but if you constantly just share your experience when in any situations, maybe a pizza, maybe an ice cream, or maybe a French fries, or whatever. You can always use those as tools to tell them there is a lot of efforts from others to bring French fries, to bring ice cream, to bring pizza on your table. So then they will start to understand a little bit more about this dependent survival. We are interdependently surviving. If we cannot survive on our own, we need to depend on others to survive. And they need to know that. So if you're always in that competitive mode and you want to I'm going to win over everybody, then I'll be on the top of the world. Sorry, you'll be so alone and you'll be dead in no time. Because why? You depend on people to give you food and to bring you water. Right? They need to understand that. And I think when people do understand that arrogance, that ego would be a little bit less, because they would start to appreciate more, to be grateful a little bit more, right? And nowadays kids got spoon-fed all the time, right? I mean, here is slightly different than in Hong Kong. Hong Kong, Every family, almost every family have a maid. Filipino maid or Indonesian maid, every family. So if a well-off family, they even have more. I have friends who have 8 maids in a household of how many people? Maybe less than 8 people. Yeah, 6 people, 8 maids, 4 drivers. Can you imagine? Those kids go to school, they walk out of home because the maid will carry their school bag. The driver will open the door, put on their seatbelt, bring them to school. After school, they bring a school bag out, give it to the maid, and the maid will bring a school bag and bring it onto the car. So, when they eat, all the food are there. All they have is just to pick up the chopsticks. And sometimes grandma, grandpa, father, mother, or whoever will just, put food into their bowl. And all they have to do is just eat it themselves. Because they don't know. They don't know they have to depend on others. What happens if those maids disappear? What happens if the family become broke? And though they don't have maids, they don't have drivers anymore, what happens? These kids won't survive very well. At least for a period of time, they won't survive very well. If they have the good fortune to understand that I need to stand up and do all this myself, that's great. But a lot of them can't. So we need to see this, and we need to actually educate kids of seeing this interdependent survival, interdependent existence, and there is no free lunch anywhere, and we need to actually start to give those kids this kind of idea. So as parents or as grandparents, no matter how many we call holy books, or we call liturgy books, we call sutta, we call sutra, whatever we want to say, no matter how many holy books, holy words or you talk about, what good would they do if you do not act upon them? So it's not just talking the talk, it's really grandparents, parents, everybody in the family have to walk the talk. Have to walk the talk. If you do not want the kid to throw a tantrum, you don't throw a tantrum yourself. But a lot of times the parents throw a tantrum because the kid throw a tantrum, right? So we need to, in the family, we need to learn how we should actually conduct ourselves, how we behave, how we deal with our life. Because why? The kids have open eyes. They look at it, they see it, they learn it. Right there, they follow. So if we sort of like I could use a word of, this is called spiritual shadow. That means, you talk a lot on holy words, but you don't really practice that holiness. So it's only a shadow. I tell you, in no time, the kid will be able to pierce it through with a knife. They will see it through, because kids, they're actually very, very bright, because they haven't been polluted so much. So they have clearer eyes. They could easily pierce through your shadow and see, hey, you're not really behaving, Mom. You're not really walking your own talk. So how can they listen to you? How can they learn from you? So you have to be really, really authentic yourself. And we know that, the practice is our own practice. Nobody can save us. Nobody. And the only person who can save your kids is themselves. And how are they going to save themselves? Is, if they are really were taught properly, quote properly, while they were young, and I think they need to know about their mistakes, but not from a punishing point of view. Okay, I know we were taught. I mean, I was telling them a story about when we were little, and we went and steal candies from our neighbors, and my mom found out. So we were punished by kneeling in front of our ancestors' plaque, the Chan's family plaque, there, for one whole incense that is that long. As long as it burned, almost over an hour, right? So since then we know, and then after that, my mom would talk senses into our minds that this is not right. Why did I need to punish you? And of course we all knew, because we stole candies, because we never had candies, and we knew that our neighbors had candies, so we stole candies. So, and then my mom said, you know what? No matter how poor you are, you never steal people's things. And that is my education. We take it in. And my mom always said, no matter how poor we are, your clothes always have to be clean. No matter how many pieces you have, mended on your. You have mended my clothes, So, how many pieces of mending cloth on your clothes doesn't matter, as long as they need to be clean. They need to be clean. And that is the teaching from her. And now I'm 65, I still remember that. Why? Because she walked her talk. And she punished us not because of no reason, but because of good reason. And she talked sense into us, so we never stole again. So that is, so she had, even though at that time she wasn't a Buddhist, but yet she had this right view in her that she put through to her children. So, and also, a lot of times we need to allow children to be children, right? I mean, and that could be very hard on us, especially as parents, because parents always have expectations of their children, what they should be like. Sorry, please don't, because you need to surrender, because as a parent, we always struggle to hold on to this. I'm parents. This is my territory. Don't you trot onto my territory, okay? And don't you say anything against me because I am your parent. Sorry. I tell you, I think I don't tell you because I've never been a parent, but I'm sure you know all these little monsters. They have a lot of ways to break into your castle. So many ways. They are they're so capable to break your castles. of ego, really. I mean, we always have to remember, children are not to be managed, they are needed to be nourished. Nourished rather than managed. And that's a very important difference. A lot of people are managing their children, they are not nourishing their children. And they are punishing their children, they are not loving their children. And I always say to some of my students, I said, your children are born for you to love them, not for you to get angry with. Even though they make mistakes, I mean, they are children. So you have to really let go of that ego as a parent, and build up this loving kindness, compassion, rather than fear, rather than any negative emotions, you know. And for those of you who are actually constantly practicing meditation, that mindfulness is going to be a great help for you to actually constantly checking yourself. So in this entire world, we think that this entire world is so big, but for children, their entire world is just at home in the house, right? In the house. And what's happening in the house affects them so much. So we need to really understand and address that directly and compassionately and wisely. Otherwise, we're going to make a very bad impact on these children. So if you are a grandparent, if you're a parent, if you are in your house and living in your house with mindfulness, that will create a totally different atmosphere, a totally different environment for your grandchildren and for your children. And I remember when my mom looked after my sister's children, now my nieces and nephews are in their 40s. They are really good children. They are really good kids, and I could really say that I don't see that good kids very often nowadays, even in their 40s, 45. The kind of respect, the kind of gratitude that they have, I don't see it very often in many other children. And why is that? Because I think it's my mom. My mom really raised them well. My parents, especially my mom, and of course my sister have I should give some credit to my sister and my brother-in-law, but I think I would give more credits to my mom, right? Yeah, and I can see very different. My mom has how many grandchildren? 4, 6. 2, 4? 4 grandchildren, huh? 4 grandchildren. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 6 grandchildren. 6 grandchildren. And I could tell you, 2 out of 6 are very good grandchildren. I mean, the other 4 are not bad grandchildren, but they're very different grandchildren. But the 2 out of the 6 are really different, and they were the only one who were raised by my mom. And it makes such a big difference. I can really see the difference. And so, I mean, that's the way it is. Karma, right? It's karma. You come back to it, it's karma. Why would they have my mom to look after them? Because my mom was still alive at that time. My mom was still healthy at that time. So it's just karma. And so it's very different. So have I answered that question?
I'm wondering if you have... I'm wondering, Sze Fu, if you have any thoughts on nourishing children in a systems way, like, I'm going to just say it, a Buddhist school. And in that way, supporting children and families. What do you think about that idea?
It's very difficult because you see the system the way it is already. How are you going to break the presence, the existing system? You and me together? We can't. Because they are so powerful. And yet we are just little potatoes. But we could make a difference. I remember when I used to go to your school, and I think that mindfulness make a big difference to some of your students. Yeah, and I think that is a possibility. Is actually to bring this kind of so-called quote spiritual practice, not really just religious, not religious practice. It's really spiritual practice. It's dealing with one's mind, not depending on religion, but dealing with one's mind. So I think that practice, especially, of course, I mean, I do not agree totally to take mindfulness out of the context of the whole picture of the Buddha's teachings. But at some time when this is useful, just use it first. Later on, wait until later on. When, as I said, as you said, maybe later on these kids will come back and think, oh, well, you know, I want to learn more, not just about mindfulness, about the theories behind the mindfulness and what is your teacher talk about? Why did he want us to do mindfulness? So, you know, we plant seeds. Now, I'm going to come to this, planting the seeds. I'm going to come to this. So I think you know what, I think we should all really try to go back into the school. I think you should put yourself out. To McCammon and said, knock, knock, knock. Can I come back to teach mindfulness to kids in the classrooms? Not me going to knock on the door, but you go to knock on the door. You go back to knock on the door. Right? Try that. I support you. Yeah. And anybody here, if you are, you know, if you have an opportunity to talk to a teacher, you know, offer this to them. Offer this mindfulness to them. And that's the way to really nourish the kids, I think. Of course, it would be nice to, I mean, in Hong Kong now, or in Coquitlam, I know that actually they bring mindfulness into classrooms in Coquitlam. In Hong Kong, there are quite a few schools, especially the Buddhist school. Actually, they have a meditation room, maybe this size, about 200 square feet, every day. Especially those difficult kids, like the kids with difficulties. They attend a mindfulness course, and they lead mindfulness class to the little classmates. And it's wonderful. You see how they said the teachers said they actually see progress really at school. Susanna, you have something to say?
Yes, like I was going to add to that, because the other day I was talking to my daughter about my and she told me that the school, like he is in kindergarten, and she told me that the school actually put aside a few minutes every day so that the kids go in and they just sit there and there's no
quiet, yeah.
They just sit there quietly, because like when they come back from the playground, like after
it's all crazy.
Yes. There was one time I went over to her house, and then the boy was running around, and I said, "Can you just slow down?" And then she said, "Okay." And then she sat on the stool, and then she just did a meditation pose. quiet, keep quiet.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Nowadays, they do learn that it's called mindfulness. They call it mindfulness. There's no religious component in it.
yes,
But
yes, yes,
teachers are very aware of the mindfulness in school right now.
yes,
Yes.
yes. I know.
Good idea.
I know it's a very good idea, and I know Teresa from San Francisco. She told me that her grandchild is like how many months? 14 months, and took him to the doctor just lately for checkup, and the doctor gave the mother a book called "Quiet Down the Monkey Mind." 14 months, I said that's a little bit too much, but I know that they're trying to. But I know that they're trying to introduce that into those little hyperactive kids. Yeah.
Yeah, like my younger daughter, she also taught her daughter, who is 2.5 now, to every time when you're mad, you just keep quiet, and then you keep breathing, and then when you finish your breathing, you think you can calm down and come talk to you. Like they do that. Even like kids, I mean I call them kids, but then to them it's actually adults. And they teach their kids at a very young age of keep breathing, keep quiet down, keep meditating.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so this 4 months is how they start now.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Good. So yeah, there is a hope. Okay. All right. So. All right. The next one. So, do parents from predominantly Buddhist countries raise their children differently? Could you comment on this? So, predominantly Buddhist countries. So, Tisa and Mali comes from Sri Lanka and is predominantly Buddhist. So, do you have any comment on this, Mali? This is such an interesting topic.
Hi, thank you, Sze Fu.
Yes.
Nice to see you.
Yes.
So I quite like what you said about nourishing the kids and not trying to manage them. That's quite, I mean, it tells everything that I think we need to know. So the question that Lori had, from my point of view, I'm just looking at it, confidence and self-identity wouldn't be so bad as long as they're taught compassion and respect for the others.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because then there's a balance, because we can't make it perfect, in a child.
Right.
We teach compassion and, respect your elders, things that are in predominantly Buddhist countries, those are taken for granted.
Yes.
You respect your elders, and
yes.
You don't kill, you don't, the 5 precepts.
Yes.
It's not a perfect world in that sense, but those people know in their hearts those what is wrong and what is right. Not necessarily that they all follow it, but at least the basic concepts are known.
Yes, yes.
At least intellectually they know it, and then maybe when they do something wrong, they feel guilty and stop themselves from doing it. So the self-identity, confidence, I don't know if I would think of it that way. I'm thinking more what we're looking for is balance.
Yes, yes, of course, yes.
As a child, I mean, I would like to have, for my child to have confidence.
Yes.
But not to have too much pride. You also teach some kind, humility and compassion.
Yeah. That's right.
Those are my comments, unless you have something to add.
Yes.
That is actually Lori's question, but question that she's asking now, do parents from Buddhist countries, raise their child differently? I know that when we were kids, we had to go to the temple every month. Once month they're called
Uposatha. Uposatha, yeah. Uposatha, yes.
go there, and also at the school, we had to recite the 5 precepts
Yes.
every morning. That is how the school starts.
Yes.
Yeah, those are the things that, you know. Other than that, you know, I think other activities are regular.
It's also part of socializing too. Like the temple was a place that people go to meet others, and so they share ideas. And
Yes. Yes.
whereas we had fun going to the temple, it was a fun place to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we had to give honor to the monks once a month or once in 2 months, something like that.
So generosity. So that's
Yes.
that's a huge part of Buddhist life, because giving to others.
Yes.
I don't know whether we do it as generosity. It's just a part of life, right? So
Yeah.
you just give when you.
Yeah, but as a kids, you know, we just recited five precepts, but we didn't, you know, quite understand because we were small kids.
Yes. 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 Good. Yeah. Great. So that's one example from Sri Lanka. I mean, of course, Sri Lanka is really a Buddhist country. Whereas we come from, I come from Hong Kong. I was raised in a British colony. I mean, but in my blood is Chinese. So, of course, in the old days, Buddhism is also a big proportion of people are Buddhism. But for Chinese, there is another culture is very, very strong, is the Confucianism, right? And we all know Confucianism is just like the Mangalas. It's just like the Mangalas, like how to respect your elders, how to respect your peers, and how to respect the younger ones, and how to behave at school, how to behave at home, how to behave at work, and all those Confucianism and as a nation, how should a nation be run, and how should a family be run, and all that. Those are all built into our culture. So in traditional, or you can say in traditional Buddhist countries or societies, the Buddhist teachings is actually already integrated into the entire culture. It's all the ceremonies, all the arts and symbols, values and structures. Like Tissa said, every day you have to recite the 5 precepts, right? And it's already built into the life. And so it is natural for parents to raise the children as Buddhists or to influence the children to become Buddhists. But whereas in the West, it's very different, because the West is a converted Buddhist. Right? It's converted Buddhist. So converted Buddhist is a very personal thing. It's not a cultural thing. And so these converted Buddhists, or these people who have taken the teachings to the heart, because they are attracted to the Buddhist teachings as an individual, as they are attracted to this spiritual path, and not as a culture, you see. So it's a very, very different path at all. So, and also, I mean, for some of the Western students that I know, even though that they identify themselves as a practitioner, Buddhist practitioner, but in the open they are very timid. They are very hesitant to let their peers to know that they are Buddhist, because they are afraid that they're not being accepted. They're being rejected by their peer, or by the society, or by the friends, or whatever, right? So it's actually very, very, very different. So now with Buddhist the teachings in the West going into the 300 years. So the first teachings, well, I mean, the first Buddhists coming into the West is 1898 or 1889, can't remember. So now it's going into the third 100 year. So with these third 100 years, I hope that the Western Buddhism is going to develop its own kind of Buddhist culture. Hopefully, maybe we may not be able to see it in our life, but hopefully in the future generations, hopefully they will develop a new sort of a Western culture. But there is a very strong danger in that too. I started seeing that because first, as you have heard about me saying that before, householder calling themselves Sangha, and householder being ordained as minister, Buddhist minister, and it's never meant to be like that at Buddha's time. And so that could be, I don't know, I don't want to comment, but that could be a potential danger. A potential danger. Because in order for the authentic Buddhist teachings to flourish, the Buddha established Sangha, monastic Sangha. And only with monastic Sangha, abiding by all the precepts, abiding by celibacy, and would the pure Dhamma able to flourish. But with householder Sangha, you cannot stop householder from getting married or falling in love or whatever. I mean, look at some of the householder teachers, or they call ministers, are still, not vegetarian, are still drinking wine, are still, these. I mean, so I have doubts about that myself. As a monastic, I do have doubts about that, but I know this is also a karma in the West. The West, the karma of the Westerners. But I think for the converted parents, it is actually very much an individual decision whether to actually bring up their children formally as Buddhists or not. But I think it could be a very big challenge. Yeah, so this is how I see it. But I think the most important thing is the parents at home have to really walk the talk. Then hopefully they will pass that legacy, that message, along to the children, But I want to share with you how the Buddha patiently taught and guided Rahula with compassion and wisdom. So Rahula was the son of the Buddha, and he was ordained when he was 7, and he became a bhikkhu when he was in his teens. But Rahula was a very naughty child, very naughty. And one bad thing of Rahula is he constantly lied. It's okay. I did it differently. It's not your problem. Yeah. So sometimes when people come to ask Rahula, where is the Buddha? And and Buddha actually was in his own place, and Rahula would say, "Oh, Buddha has gone out." So everybody was sort of going around places looking for Buddha, and actually Buddha was in his own kuti. So the Buddha actually knew that Rahula was so playful, was so dishonest and everything. So one day the Buddha came back from alms, and Rahula brought the water and washed the Buddha's feet, right? So that's a tradition. So after the Buddha washed the feet, and then the Buddha said to Rahula, drink this filthy water. Drink this water. Rahula said, how can I drink this water? This is filthy. And we should not drink this water. So then the Buddha said to Rahula, Rahula, your words are just like a bowl of filthy water because they are not honest. And Rahula felt really sort of ashamed. So he just threw away that bowl of water. And then because he threw away that bowl of water, so the Buddha couldn't ask him to drink that bowl of water anymore, right? Then the Buddha said, Rahula, take this washing bowl and go for your alms. Put the food into this washing bowl. Rahula said, no, this is very dirty, filthy bowl. How can we put food into this filthy bowl? And the Buddha said, Rahula, you are just like this filthy bowl. The beautiful Dharma, you cannot withhold a beautiful Dharma in your heart because your heart is so filthy. Your words are so filthy, and people cannot take in your words because they are dishonest. And the Dharma could not stay in your heart because your heart is so filthy. And Rahula felt so ashamed. So the Buddha looking at the washing bowl, and the Buddha just kicked the washing bowl away. So the washing bowl was rolling all along the place. And the Buddha asked Rahula, do you mind this bowl if it breaks? And Rahula said, no, I don't mind. It's so cheap and it's no good and blah, 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 and all that. And you know what the Buddha said to Rahula? And it's not worth any money. And the Buddha said, you are just like this bowl. You are worth nothing because you are dishonest. Nobody would treasure you because you're so dishonest. Nobody will respect you because you are so dishonest. Nobody would care for you because you're so dishonest. And Rahula, after hearing what the Buddha said, he cried and cried and cried and cried and felt so ashamed and shameful. He decided that from that day onward, he's going to speak every word as honest words. And in no time, Rahula attained enlightenment. If Buddha did not tactfully and with compassion and wisdom teach Rahula this, if Buddha was just scold him and punish him, Rahula will never would become enlightened. So as parents and grandparents, we need to lead the children, to lead the kids in such a way. Guide them with compassion, guide them with wisdom, and also respect the kid. They have their own karma. Okay? This is what I have for tonight. All right? Anybody have anything? Oh, I'm missing one slide. And like in the Mahamangala Sutta, stanza 10, it says, 5, it says, mother, father, well supporting, cherishing one's wife and children. And go back and look at the Mahamangala Sutta, and here it says, mother, father, well supporting. We support the mother and our father, and our children see that we support our father and our mother. And they will do that. They will look up to us, and they will behave this similarly, if not better. Right? So this is what I have for tonight. I hope that answers your questions. Good. Be happy and be well. I took this picture. The last picture was taken by Laurie, I think. What's it from you? Oh, for me. Oh, that was me too. Huh? Okay. Oh, yours was dark. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So be happy and be well. So nothing. All right. Good. So we dedicate our merits. May these blessings extend to all, that we with all the other living beings together will attain the Buddha way. May more and more people will encounter the wise words of the Buddha, study them, understand them, and practice them, and help themselves to free themselves from all the entanglements and be truly happy and free. May you all have a good holidays and keep well and be safe.